Okay.
We're recording now. Dylan, welcome to this Patreon. Oh, you're looking good. This Patreon brought to you by Larry Cantor Jr. Today we're talking about...
Check that shit out, right? That's fucking what you fucking... We're technology guys now.
Rage quit.
Yeah, I found out all these tickers since we started using Stream It. Check this out. Irish chat. What does that mean? We fuck our cousins.
This is about Dylan, Midlife Crisis 2021.
Ooh, I'm gonna buy a leather house.
Oh, that's
the ultimate
cool.
Midlife crisis when you buy a leather house.
Hey, what's up? All my clothes represent car companies. Chrysler jacket. Can we just
Dodge pants?
Can we talk about Johnny Polo? Because he is one of the most unsung shit-eating managers of the WWF, and no one addresses it. He was the best part of the Quebecers. It made no sense. These two French-Canadian police officers are managed by an uppity man who likes polo.
This is what I like about mid-90s WWF. Also, here's what we're doing. We're talking about, on this Patreon exclusive episode, we're talking about Raven, as ordered by,
the
banner up there, Larry
Nevermore.
Cantor Jr.
Quote the Larry Cantor Jr., nevermore.
I want to review Larry Cantor Sr.
Yeah. Here he's the Hulk Hogan of returning stuff to a Home Depot.
He's back again, and he's taping people fucking his wife. Is that what he meant?
I want you bathtub that has a small door in it because my elderly father's coming to visit, and I want him still to be able to shower, but do it safely.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Raven is one of the most fascinating people ever because he was basically just a very charismatic drug addict who wandered into the wrestling business and was really good and should have been used better and was also still used amazingly because he is the unsung undercard other bad guy to the NWO and WCW. He was the main big bad of ECW for over 3 years. He was a guy who wore leather shorts in the WWF, and that contribution cannot be under-discussed. He also was a collection of some of the weirdest, lower mid-card guys since Daniel Bryan. I do not acknowledge Bryan Danielson.
There you go.
That is, I don't like that. They've taken my Totally Bellas away from me. Where's my Total Bellas?
No, Total Bellas will still be on. And he also called Bryan Danielson on Total Bellas because that's his. That's how you know that the Daniel Bryan thing, even though they say we had this grand plan, was a total mistake. Is that they literally went, "Hey, what's your name? John Hastings. All right, you're Haste John. Get in the ring, fat ass." That's what they did. They just flipped his name around.
My ass is tight.
Okay,
Take that back. Take that back now.
Get in the ring.
Take
tight
it.
Ass.
Thank you.
Exactly. So we should talk about Raven and how he started. He started the wrestling at 24.
No, he didn't. He went to summer camp with Tommy Dreamer. They both play wrestled. Tommy Dreamer was too strong and made fun of Raven to the girls. And because it was ECW, that means Raven is the bad guy. Let's never forget. The ECW's main feud, Tommy Dreamer versus Raven was a nerd. Beulah McGillicuddy was a fat girl. Tommy Dreamer made fun of both of them. They've come back to ECW to get revenge. That's bad. If you were fat as a child or nerdy as a child, you should be bullied for your entire life. Paul Heyman is the weirdest guy in wrestling.
Well, apparently that's because him and Raven came together and they were like, well, it'd be easy to make the Raven character the outcast, the heel. The babyface. Why don't we try making him the heel? And basically inadvertently created the first incel character in the history of entertainment because the character is, he was a nerd. Yeah, some bad stuff happened, but there's no reason for what a piece of shit he became.
Yeah, that's the best part of it. The reason why I always read into it is the reason why he's a piece of shit is because he was bullied. Bullying is good.
But we should say 4 years into his wrestling career, Raven starts in WCW as who? Trivia.
Scotty Flamingo.
Very good. And he likes what?
Thank you. Flamingos.
And surfing.
Of course. This is also a great
He
Raven.
came to the ring with a bunch of
Is-
dead flamingos. We want you to know that.
Yeah, he threw a bunch of flamingo bodies and
They
for
got
some reason
real? Yeah.
peacock corpses at Flying Brian Pillman. Flying Brian Pillman then ate them. Got toxoplasmosis, was driven crazy, hence the Humvee accident. All of a plan from Scott Levy, who at Brian Pillman's funeral handed his widow his phone number, a little baggie of dust, and just went, "Call me if you want to party. You don't need to call me. I'll be in your bedroom." And she was like, "That's cool."
She was like, I don't do cocaine. He's like, that's not cocaine. That's your husband's ashes. And then they did a line of Brian Pillman together.
Yeah, exactly. They did a line of Brian Pillman together, just like Johnny Depp and Doug Stanhope supposedly did at the Comedy Store, which was a story I randomly heard 2 days ago.
Man, Johnny Depp just being a bad influence on everybody.
I gotta say this about Johnny Depp is that thing of like, why when people are, can you believe that this guy turned out to be a piece of shit? And it's like, yeah, I had a rule in university. If you're wearing that type of hat and you are not in Europe and a woman,
that's funny.
Bad guy.
Yeah, Johnny Depp just is like, he morphed from, it really does show what happens when you lose your looks, where it's like, he was so attractive, no one noticed that he essentially just dressed like a scarecrow for his whole life.
Yeah.
And then now he looks like a Leatherman, so everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's like a bunch of old ladies' coats." It's like a coat.
That's why
hanger.
Dylan and I played this right, is that we only look good now. Dylan has lost weight and is looking cut and hot. My hairline has given my giant head a weird form and shape, and I've lost a lot of weight because of anxiety and sadness over the last year.
There you go.
That it's really made my skin pop. Know what we're trying to say? We're better than Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some fake tan, but only on my neck.
I only get fake tan on my dick and balls, so that when I pull it out, I can just go. They've been in the sun recently. Why haven't you been?
I do that thing where I bought a morph suit, but I cut out the crotch, so just
course.
cock gets tanned. But anyway,
Do you know
my
who-
name's
do you know
John,
who's-
and I will be reporting to jail.
John.
Nice. We're talking a lot about Raven. Anyway, Scotty Flamingo. We'll have like an hour. So Scotty Flamingo. John, what are your memories of Scotty Flamingo? Here's mine. None.
Yeah,
I was 7, and I lived in Canada. We didn't get WCW. The first time I saw it, I think
It was Johnny Polo. It's Johnny Polo. Oh, you
First time I saw him. Sorry, no. The first time I saw WCW was the Guardian Angel, and then I was like, why is the Big Boss Man wearing a soft hat? And that was WCW to me.
I loved the Guardian Angel character because it is, again, much like Scotty Flamingo, much like Johnny Polo, let's be honest, much like Raven, those characters show how far behind wrestling is when it comes to pop culture, like perfectly. Like Scotty Flamingo, he's a surfer. The surf craze of the 80s was in the 80s. He's in the early 90s, and it's like, surfing's cool, right, kids? He's a skateboard chum. Watch out for your public art. And then he heads to the WWF, and he's like, he's the Pauly Shore character to the Mounties, is basically what Johnny Polo was.
Well, no, because Johnny Polo came in and managed Adam Bomb. He's like a rich guy. And remember, because Adam Bomb he found this man who was next to a volcano.
I thought it when he was with the Quebecers and they just never explained that relationship. And then he was with Adam Bomb, and then Adam Bomb went with Harvey Whippleman, and the Mounties and Johnny Polo just fucked off. Also, is there more?
Originally was the manager. The first was Adam Bomb, and then Adam Bomb didn't work. Which, by the way, if you go on Twitter, Brian Clark is selling the Adam Bombs, which were like, they're Nerf footballs, but they just put a little thing on the end of, and they look like little nukes. And
It's so funny
what's more
how
fun than nukes?
fucking hard Vince McMahon was trying to make another Hulk Hogan, and he was just trying anything. I don't know. What's more powerful than Hulk Hogan? He's
obsessed with jizz.
He's obsessed with jizz. He's a jizz-loving son of a bitch. No.
First of all, he loves cum. We can't say it on TV because it's 1993.
Here's what it is. Here it is. We build up Hulk Hogan to be super strong. I need my next Hulk Hogan to be stronger than Hulk Hogan. What makes people strong? Vince McMahon had seen an episode of The Incredible Hulk. The sound was off because they were in a bar, but he caught the gist. And he went, of course, nuclear power. Atom bomb will be fueled by nuclear power.
Also, he's gonna be successful because his name is Adam Bomb and his gimmick is he's a nuke. Like it's like cheesy. You have to work pretty hard to be cheesy for wrestling.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Adam Bomb was like, you took
I
Brian
disagree.
Clark, who's
I
a
was
fucking
an
crazy
8-year-old.
talent.
I was
Yeah.
an 8-year-old and loved Adam Bomb.
I love
was,
Adam Bomb too.
Like it was again, it was one of those moments where why is the WWF weird? Because in the end, the WWF gears itself to children, but in this weird way, especially because the Attitude Era was the only time when wrestling grew up
Yeah.
with its fan base. Oh, I'm sleepy. Grew up with its fan base,
Yeah.
did it, and then so we're still addicted to like, oh, if we just keep watching, it'll get better for a couple of years and then get really bad.
Well,
And by the way, we've been proven right because wrestling has now given us AEW, and AEW is basically like, hey, remember that guy? You get to see him walk out and he's wrestling with his friends, so he's just kind of happy. And you're like, oh, that's good. None of this is written in a way that I'm supposed to understand it, right? No. It is not written in a way that you'll be able to follow almost. We are going to almost push Jungle Boy every 3 weeks. We never will, but we're almost going to do it. And do you know who would have really excelled in AEW, Dylan Gahn?
Raven.
Johnny Polo.
I will say this: you can't do what they did with Raven and Johnny Polo. So Johnny Polo is like, I'd say he's like a lower mid card manager. Would you say that?
Yes, I would say that, and I would say that he is the last lower mid card WWE manager we're ever going to get. And I always thought it was a bit weird because he was brought in to be a manager that would then segue into being a wrestler, which is something that Vince McMahon has never done. So I don't really know why he thought this would work.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
I thought that too. Like because this is something where I'm 9 at this point, and you need to kind of explain things. So it's like I remember watching this at 9 and him starting to wrestle. Johnny Polo did on some Raws and being like, why isn't this guy just murdering? Because you set it up. It's like if this guy's as soon as you are a manager, you're a referee. Where if someone punches you, you turn into dust and die.
This is exactly the thing.
So you kind of need to always have like a training montage, even just 1 week of like Johnny Polo's fucking been in the gym. God damn it, he's a wrestler now. And then every wrestling fan's like, okay, all we need legit is like a minute of just hey, they can fight now. Sure.
Well, this is the weird thing.
We're already watching Bastion Booger. We're ready. You know what I mean? We're ready to accept things.
Yeah, it's one of those things where wrestling is the weirdest sort of logic.
Yeah, the wrestling is weird logic. Like in wrestling, did you know this? Dogs walk people. Continue, John.
That's really good. It's basically what they need to do is that training montage. Basically, the best way to turn a manager into a wrestler. Oh, look at you being so come hithery. Is
what's that?
Is Diesel. Diesel at this time period was the template where it's just like he's not a manager, he's a bodyguard. He just punches people in the heart for a while and wears the most ludicrous denim jacket. Johnny Polo was like the proto Diesel, which is instead of him being a truck, he's a type of white person that I think only Vince McMahon knows in his head. Like Johnny Polo is basic. Johnny Polo, the Johnny Polo gimmick is a guy from Connecticut who said something snide to Vince McMahon at the pizza factory. Now I will create him and destroy you. Like, do you understand the reason why Raven wasn't pushed is because Vince McMahon thought that he invented Johnny Polo, thought that Scott Levy was Johnny Polo, and then made Raven around him.
This is what these characters though, Johnny Polo's character, this is what I don't get about it is like this guy's super rich. They never really are like he's rich and he's managing Adam Bomb now. Why is he, if he's already rich in wrestling? Like I hate when they're like this guy's super rich. They at least they come out like this is a vanity project to him. He needs the respect of his dad or something like that. Like just once again, we're ready to believe anything, any wrestling, any like description, any storyline, we're all ready to believe it. It's just they don't give it to us sometimes. In 1994 about Johnny Polo, I'm fucking pissed about Johnny Polo. 27 years ago this happened. If someone was born when Johnny Polo debuted, their back hurts now when they stand up. Sometimes they're starting to like be led along the path that will lead to death, and I'm mad. I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed about Johnny Polo. But anyway, Johnny Polo becomes Raven, and that can't happen now.
Here's my question. How does Johnny Polo leave the WWF? Because I tried to like find it on the internet, scour if they explained it. It was like, there's the crazy thing about the Mounties that the Mounties were basically given a Brock Lesnar-esque destroy the tag team division, and then they just are the Quebecers, and then they're gone forever. It's never explained again.
Well, they're gone because PCO has a feud with the Click, no? And Jacques Rougeau is like...
No, that's later.
Like,
that's later.
You can't pin me.
No. Because Pierre is when he becomes the Pirate. That's like 2 years later. The Mounties... Okay. It's literally just, I think that they were just like, I don't want to. And then Vince was like, I feel the same way. And then goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, they just slowly transition him off television, and then he goes to ECW where he becomes Raven. And like I said, this can't happen now. Like, I guess the closest thing to this would be Husky Harris and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Like, clearly... this guy is someone else.
But again, it could happen now. No, it would. No, it happens like that all the time because AEW, some WWE characters are way different in AEW. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're still like
for example, Daniel Bryan usually wore a gray shirt in WWE, but based on what I've seen of him in AEW, white shirt.
Yeah, he really he came out as a yoga teacher in WWE, and now he looks like a yoga instructor.
Oh, Dylan, you absolute rascal.
But yeah, this is why AEW is trying to tie up all these weird loose ends. Like, that's the reason Malachi Black comes in with the fucking black eye paint, is because he left WWE on like an eye injury angle. And they're trying to like tie that loose end up. It's like they're trying to do something that's impossible. AEW is just some man who has nothing to do but loves tasks, and there's a drawer of cords that is literally just all together, and AEW, they're trying to like find all the plugs and put the drawers neatly, put the like plugs neatly beside each other in elastics. Like,
no, basically like, what it is AEW is a collection of men who all are attempting to prove something to their father. That's what AEW is.
That's all the world is, John. No. Okay.
You know who ECW?
AEW is the alpha version of ECW, oddly.
No,
and
disagree.
TNA, where it's like
ECW had nothing to do with proving anything to your parents. ECW had everything to do with, let's see how much money my parents will give me so I can live my best life.
I think that's what Tony Khan is doing. It's just his dad has so much more money than Paul Heyman's dad.
Oh, to be true. And also, AEW is so much better run than ECW ever was.
Yeah, because Tony Khan has like at least taken a business class at night.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, obviously we're talking about AEW as an aside because it's new and it's fun. I am worried where the path of CM Punk's debut is going to land Tony Khan, because I've been seeing him more and more on television now. Like, there was a CM Punk's entrance, and like they showed the fans going nuts, and then they just showed Tony Khan's face, and I'm like, your boy's getting to be, he's gonna be Dixie Carter a senior in a minute, which hopefully is not. But
basically, what it is Tony Khan is Eric Bischoffing himself.
Okay.
In that he's gotten a taste for the limelight. And now more and more he wants to be in the limelight. Like, I don't know if you guys, we will get to Raven Run in a second, but let me just say this point about Tony.
No,
we're not. Tony Khan basically has gotten a taste for the spotlight, and he's going to do what Vince Russo did at the end of WCW. Give it 2 years, and Tony Khan will be in the middle of the ring going toe-to-toe with Darby Allin. Mark my goddamn words. And that shouldn't happen. What should happen is Darby Allin should be managed not by Sting, but by someone who is much more of the dark and way more emo. Who is way more emo than Sting? Dylan Gott?
Ooh, this is good. Dashboard Confessional.
And whose favorite band was Dashboard Confessional when he used to scrunch up Oxycontins with Perry Saturn at the
Good Charlotte.
Philadelphia Travelodge? No, that's who he listened to when the WWE had him back a little bit briefly in the early aughts.
GC, Good Charlotte. Ladies and gentlemen, Good Charlotte. You imagine AEW's addicted to debuts, but they run out of people?
Oh my God.
Good Charlotte. Girls don't like boys, girls like... Sing it, everybody. Okay,
Cars and money. No, who I'm saying is Raven. Ladies and gentlemen, Raven. Quote the Raven.
Raven is every character in AEW because there was a time when AEW started where it was like, how about this? I got an idea. I wear all black and I'm a fucking badass times the whole roster. But what I was saying originally is Raven would be very difficult to do now because he just did for 4 years? No, it was only 2 years, which is crazy that he had 2 years in WCW and 2 years in WWE. I guess it would honestly be like if Bo Dallas showed up in I guess the equivalent of ECW now would be Game Changer Wrestling and just was like an emo Darby Allin-esque character. I guess everyone would be on board with it now. They wouldn't have weirdly I think they wouldn't have been on board with it 10 years ago. There's this weird like block of time where it's like 2001 completely rewriting your character. Everyone's like, that's fine, whatever. The Rock is here, Austin's here, it's great. 2011, everyone becomes super jaded, like wrestling's been shit for a whole decade, fuck you. 2021, you can do a total character rewrite, and everyone's like, yeah, fine. We're once again just happy again.
Yeah, that's the thing. And
but like I said, much more interesting to talk about is Raven.
Which is, I will say, is Raven as a character is the best wrestling character for me of the 90s. It's the most well-rounded. It's the most interesting.
Yeah.
Everything he does is logical and makes sense. This ECW run is how you should structure a character in that he comes in, he's heralded by Stevie Richards. He comes in, has comedy characters around him. So there's levity in Blue Meanie and Stevie Richards. He has a look and a vibe, so certain people will, of course, like, oh, it would make sense this guy is with him. Him and Tommy Dreamer have an absolutely awesome feudy booty.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, feudy booty.
It's a feudy booty.
But it also comes in with a cohesive story. Like, he comes in feuding with Tommy Dreamer, and he exits feuding with Tommy Dreamer, and he goes off, obviously. He feuds with different people, but the Dreamer feud is always the first and foremost thing about his character. It's really well written, and you can tell it's like, he went to Heyman and was like, I want to do this. I've just made, probably $200,000 a year for, like, a couple years now, so I have... Because the other thing is, like, Raven's from a middle-class background.
Yes, his dad was one of the under-editors for the National Enquirer.
He's got money. It's very important to be like, he's smart, and he comes from a line of fucking scumbags because his dad wrote for the National Enquirer. Like, his dad is like...
What it is he's
finding Tawny Kitane's underwear and sniffing them to see if her and Chuck Finley fucked last night. Like, he's not...
What it is that Raven is the perfect example of he's a scumbag middle class person. 2 generations back was someone who came from the old country who like makes weird, like very, very pungent smelling stews. Then they had a kid. That kid was like, I need money. I don't want to get out of New York. Moved to Florida, works for National Enquirer, makes a bunch of money. Real dickhead to be around. That guy has a kid. That kid is Scott Levy. Scott Levy, very smart, has money, not enough love from daddy. Mom's never really in the picture because that woman was like, I'm going to marry someone who works for the National Enquirer. Then I assume was just sort of like, actually, I live in Florida. I'm going to do Percodan. Scott Levy grows up. The worst thing that could happen, he goes into WCW, meets Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes confirms everything because Dusty Rhodes at that time was just trying to find young wrestlers to suck the spirit of. Becomes Raven, meets Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman and him, he's like, I'm going to be an incel. And Paul Heyman's like, what's that? And he's like, you'll find out in about 25 years. And let me tell you, they are going to not like people of your religious persuasion. And then Paul Heyman was like, that can't be good. And he's like, yeah. And Donald Trump's going to be president. He's like, wait, what? And he's like, oh, yeah, the Sandman angle never ended. Sandman is America. Trump is the equivalent of Sandman's son. Raven is the reason for MAGA. Thank you very much, everyone. This is the end of Wrestler Review Forever. Dylan Gott and I now will be moving on to our next podcast, World Review. First episode on Ralph Nader. High point, Ralph Nader eventually dies. Low point, Ralph Nader existing. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah, fuck you. I don't know what Ralph Nader did, but fucking fuck you, Ralph.
Goddamn right, Dylan.
Yeah, I think he obviously comes in. The story, as John said, was he was bullied at summer camp by Tommy Dreamer. Beulah was fat, but now look at her. She's fucking attractive, and she's a playmate. Cool. And then Tommy, my favorite part of that story is Tommy's like, oh, she's hot now, and then gets her pregnant. Boom. Don't pull out. Leave it in, Tommy Dreamer.
I agree that the Raven plot, the Raven feud had the craziest ending. Beulah McGillicuddy and Tommy Dreamer having twins. Beulah McGillicuddy continually appearing at various wrestling fan expos with eyes that are best described as understanding but concerned.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Raven's Nest, as you said, they got a bunch of side comedy characters. And Raven wins tag titles with Stevie Richards. He, of course, has that feud with Sandman where he indoctrinates Sandman's kid. And it is like they were right. It was so much more interesting to be like, this guy has an understandable backstory, but he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Than it is to just be like, oh, look, he's like a victim from his childhood, and that defines who he is totally throughout his life.
It's basically sorry, this is another work thing that I need to stop checking, and I need people to stop emailing me while I'm fucking doing this fucking show.
Yeah, fuck them.
Say your point again, and I'm sorry, everyone. It's a dog dick of a day, and just people are sending me shit. Say what you just said again, Dylan, and I'm sorry.
Okay, no, what I said was the 9/11 was an inside job, and
Good.
Raven did it.
I agree with everything Dylan just said. There's nothing in what he said that is incorrect, and I'm going to say this right now. What Dylan just said, completely defensible from all angles.
But Raven's run in the ECW initially is only 2 years long.
It is a more successful run than Stone Cold Steve Austin's run.
He's a territory wrestler. Like, he's only ever anywhere for 2 years.
Well, this is the other thing. That's a great point. He's a territory wrestler, and he also makes it so, like, he comes in, boom, immediately makes an impact, makes his own area and corner for television, and he does that in every company he works with. So ECW, he makes the Raven's Nest, all of that sort of stuff. He then makes the Raven's Nest. That's totally fine. He then goes through all of that, goes to WCW, does a version of Raven's Nest with the Flock, which is the only other thing that gets over besides Bill Goldberg and the NWO that WCW does, and goes into an amazing feud with Chris Benoit and Diamond Dallas Page. Like, this is the Raven's ECW run is so interesting and as cool as wrestling. No one talks about how popular and important his WCW run was, because it was one of the few things on that TV show that had nothing to do with the NWO, never addressed the NWO, and got over with the fans completely.
Yeah, and I think the reason why he was kind of buried is it's like his willingness to just do whatever, because he in his head he's like, I'm already out of here. Like, once again, like, this guy's landed on his feet twice. Like, now he actually has a character that people like. It's kind of like, I can imagine this dude being like, watch what I can do when people like my fucking character, because for 2 times I was a surfer and I was a rich guy who liked polo, and I still ended up on my feet making $100,000 a year. Like,
yeah, like, bear in mind, like, I don't remember shit about Ludwig Borga. I remember the shit-eating grin of Johnny Polo. Like, Raven knows how to get himself over. He gets over like Tommy Rich does.
Cool. He also comes in with Raven's Rules, which I thought was awesome, which was just like, hey, I signed a contract and every match is no DQ because I'm not good at regular wrestling. It's perfect.
Also, continually makes very subtle references to me and Gene Okerlund being drunk on Monday Nitro. Fantastic. And leaves ECW. The one thing I just also want to say about Scott Levy, leaves ECW at the best time. He leaves ECW at the best time, comes back at the best time, and then leaves again at the best time. He leaves just as they're exiting their incredibly artistically fruitful period, goes to WCW, gets paid, and is a good enough wrestler that he gets in before Sandman does, and ECW is like, we got to stop hiring ECW guys.
Yeah, but the other thing is, and I think he did have a good point here, where apparently before his final match in ECW, he campaigned to not lose to Tommy Dreamer, which sounds nuts, but obviously Heyman was like, no, you're losing on the way out. But he's like, his point was, which obviously was proven to be correct, he's like, I'm going to be back. Like, we both know I'm coming back. Like, because his relationship with Heyman, he would always say is like, I'm certainly not De Niro, but he is Scorsese. And he was like, I'll be back. We both know I'm going to be back. And obviously he was back. And think about how much, not that like late ECW was awesome, but like
It was
to me
not
it was
awesome.
obviously.
It was awesome for us because we never got it. So
So
it's
we
that
never
thing of
got
like,
the first part.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we had missed.
Yeah, it would be like only getting Let It Be as a Beatles album. You'd be like, this is pretty rad. And they're like, yeah, but you haven't heard A Hard Day's Night. And you're like, wait, the Beatles made an entire album about how I feel at nighttime, penis-wise? And it's like, that's right, they did.
Yeah. Penis Wise was in brackets originally, and they took that out.
Yeah. They took that out because Dylan and I got too excited. They're like,
Yeah.
These
These
ethereal beings.
sperms. Yeah.
Oh my God. Bear in mind, Dylan and I come from such fat loads that the sperms that created us looked exactly the way we did, right?
Yeah, which is very small. But at WCW, obviously, he's in Raven's
Did you say
flock.
very small or very swole?
Small. We were small, but we were sperms. He's in Raven's flock, obviously because he's... And also, a staple like this rewrites characters like Kidman. It really gives Kidman like a
Oh my
great-
God. It gives Kidman, more importantly, it gives us another opportunity to see Van Hammer.
Van Hammer, Perry Saturn, Reese. Remember Reese? That was the
He
best
was
name
so
they could
tall.
come up with for him. It's Reese.
I mean,
I remember
WCW.
this guy's got to be good. Look at the fucking size of him. His name
It
is
felt like
Reese.
WCW's actual industry wasn't making wrestlers. WCW's actual industry was just like, these guys need jobs. Like Turner just like Ted Turner like sometimes went crazy and just hired people in the middle of the night, and then they were like, "Yeah, this guy works for WCW now." It's like, what, this giant Ecuadorian man? You're like, yeah, he's a giant. El Gigante. Fuck you.
But a guy like Raven should have totally been pushed. And the weird thing about like that is Raven was really over, at least like you can see in the crowds, as like a baby face, but they just never pushed him as a baby face because WCW obviously, this is like the 30 millionth thing they did bad, but like they very clearly had ideas of who everyone was. And honestly, AEW is kind of like that too. They have an idea of who you are on their programming, and you're going to be that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how do we pivot out of the flock? Which I do get. It's like, if you take Raven out of the flock, who's the leader now? Like, who's the best promo of those dudes? Like, Van Hammer is getting the mic now?
Scotty Riggs. Dylan. Fucking, what are you talking
was
about?
in there. Scotty Riggs
He
was.
was.
Viral Scotty Riggs. He went viral.
Of course he was. It was, but what was interesting was, again, they were trying to make all the Raven's Nest people again. They would just use whoever was around in, like, because they had that Jason was in the flock, and it was that whole thing with Joey Styles thought Jason had AIDS, which no one ever talks about. But
Well, it was Raven's Nest
so
in
funny.
ECW, and WCW was the flock. You're right. And it's supposed to be all these outcasts. And it works, though, because you can rewrite these characters as, like, Ravens helping all these crazy, crazy outcasts to regain who they are. And you don't need to be like, oh, the Blue Meanie isn't in there. Oh, Stevie Richards isn't in there. You know, Stevie Richards was in WCW originally and then obviously gets the boot. But he wins the United States title off Diamond Dallas Page for one day before being murdered by Bill Goldberg. And what was the first feud that Goldberg really had where it wasn't strictly against jobbers?
Flock. It was the flock, baby. And it was what's so fun. And they were dispatched. They were dispatched with reckless abandon. And also, what's interesting is, again, it shows how weird the WCW booking is and how weird the WWF rewrite of WCW history is that the flock is never remembered. But if you watch episodes of Nitro when he came in, he was always like 2 or 3 segments.
The flock on WCW weirdly like took the space of what DX did after Shawn Michaels left, where it's like an upper mid card bunch of heels.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what it was. Is it was like this, like
Actually, not really, because DX was immediately they beat someone.
No,
down
no,
in
no,
the
no.
cage
What
and
I always think of them as is they're that weird they're the WCW version of Paul Jones's Army from the NWA, which is
Oh, yeah.
like they're the other faction that they're the other faction that will main event WCW Saturday night. They will be discussed at length on WCW main event. And Gene Okerlund is going to interview two of them during like mid-hour segments on Nitro. And they are so important, so never considered or written in.
So the next evolution of Raven's character is that it turns out he's actually super rich. Did you
This
like
is
that?
so I loved that he was super rich, but do you remember how it was revealed?
They found out he funded the People's Party.
That's true. He was funding the People's Party of Canada from the past, which makes it totally legal. No, is Sandman is brought in the biggest waste of money for Ted Turner's money
Very
ever, which
good.
was let's give steroids to Hack Fullerton. And then he comes in with Chastity. They claim that Chastity is Raven's sister briefly. She reveals Raven is rich. Hack gets written off of television within a few months because they're like, wait a minute, who did we hire? And they're like, this guy. And he's like, I thought that guy put up the ring. And it's like, no. And they're like, well, fire him. And it's like, yeah, fair. Chastity leaves. That remains as part of the thing. And that's used against him by Diamond Dallas Page, a man who clearly quests for money, but knows how populism works.
Yeah. Diamond Dallas Page, who will live till 150, just out of spite for the whole fucking planet.
Diamond Dallas Page, a man who's gotten the worst facelift, and yet it works for him.
Yeah, that's the weird thing where it's like one of these days you're going to end up like Joan Rivers, guys. I don't know how you can I don't know how you can be put out like without like you have to be put out like this late in life.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Joan Rivers, by the way. They sedated her and she never woke up for a facelift.
Fun
That's how
fact.
she died.
Would you like to know the only person I've ever jacked off to?
Yeah. This is a fun fact. Usually you don't deliver on the fun part, but I'm excited.
What was I going to say?
Who are you jacked off to?
Oh, Joan Rivers every day.
Okay, yeah, okay, good.
Every day to this day.
Good.
Yeah.
So the end of his WCW run is Raven milling about. They turn him babyface for a bit. Doesn't really work. He, of course, feuds with Saturn as part of the flock. Saturn is basically, they're selling Saturn as if he's like the Arn Anderson of the flock. And honestly, like I said, in some ways, the WCW rewrite of Raven's Nest was way better because they didn't really have a Saturn, like a tough heater character. And like they built the flock like the new Four Horsemen. But
they did, and also
they just didn't put it in the main event.
They didn't put it in the main event, and also by having Saturn being the heavy, it actually built to this organic, fun feud, which was Saturn fights for the flock's freedom. After Saturn had been put through all of these, like basically they did MJF's 4 trials of Jericho, but with Perry Saturn and Raven, and they did it sort of funner and not as cheesy on Nitro, and more importantly, Thunder week to week.
More importantly, Thunder.
Yeah, of course. Like Raven, if you only watch Thunder, you think that Raven was as popular in WCW for a couple of months as Hulk Hogan.
Which legitimately, because Thunder was like way more viewer friendly for me, I did.
Yeah.
Like Thunder for me in Canada was on Fridays at midnight. So it was like, yeah, I'm just going to watch Thunder every week. And
hell yeah.
It was great. It was like Shane Douglas versus Rick Steiner, both of them trying to arm drag the other and taking a back bump for some reason. Still one of the funniest matches I've ever seen where they're just like falling down and at the end they're like, well, let's just pin each other, I guess. No one wins.
Oh my God. I've never seen WCW basically from 98 on is basically just watching a various group of adult men figure out that no one is paying attention. So anything we do will still result in a paycheck hitting their bank account.
But Raven, more importantly, stays beautiful. When does he stay till in WCW? He stays until WCW in 99. He creates a team called the Deadpool.
Yeah, this is so fucking weird.
Raven has the Flock and the Nest. Obviously, two great stables, but my God, does he have some dog shit fucking
because
stables
listen,
too.
because of recording constraints, we are not going to be able to go into in depth Raven in TNA. But that is when it goes from Jefferson Airplane to Starship in TNA.
It is
Like that's
very much like Raven is one of those guys, much like Kurt Angle, where it's like, oh, we remember him for what he did in WWF. Obviously, we don't. WCW, ECW. But those runs combined and like the good stuff within those runs is 4 years. He's in TNA for so long. Once again, the main way to make money in wrestling, find someone with a lot of it and just fucking keep going, keep coming to work even if they fire you.
goddamn right.
He's in TNA for 7 years. To put that in perspective, combined his ECW and WCW runs, we'll count the second WCW run because that's really so that 96 to 2000. So that's 4 years of good Raven. And then you get 7 years of, I mean, you know what? His stuff
Amazing Raven.
Sick.
You got amazing Raven. He's beating Abyss. He has the NWA
he beats
title.
The shit out of Abyss.
He beats the shit out of Abyss. He is tucking in that T-shirt into his shorts for really no reason.
Yeah. He wears a kilt.
Why? He is hanging out with certainly is. He's hanging out with CM Punk. He's trying to make what Vince Russo tells him work. He is doing a lot of drugs with Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn tries to get clean, but first gets homeless and does more drugs.
Yes.
It is so nuts. What happened in his WWE run before he got to TNA? Basically the same thing as TNA minus any success, plus he's the hardcore champion 40 times. Like basically post Raven's last ECW run is when Raven goes from Jefferson Airplane to Starship. It's like, remember this was good? We're doing it again, but it's 2006, so it's really sad.
Yeah, and his ECW run starts out amazing. It's the first episode of ECW on TNN. His second ECW run does. He DDTs the Dudleys, who are leaving for the WWF, to pin them. Does one of the greatest covers I've ever seen in wrestling, where it's like he's so confident that he's won the match that he starts not covering. He starts out with a full cover and then covers them less and less as they count to 3 because he's very certain the man is unconscious. And him and Tommy Dreamer, his arch nemesis, become the tag team champions, and it's whole thing of like it's a mind game, and not the Goldust one.
Yeah, an even hotter one.
An even hotter one. Go, John.
What's amazing about this is they then have this weird feud with Steve Corino and Just Incredible. Sandman comes back. It looks like it's going to be old ECW. It is not. Paul Heyman is very tired and doesn't know how to run a business anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
This is why it wasn't ECW successful. Paul Heyman got sleepy.
It's because that, like we said a million times, you got to cycle out who's booking. You can't just book and run a company for fucking, at this point, Paul Heyman's been running this company for 6 years straight with no sleep.
Yeah. He's just eating General Tao's chicken with extra almonds and fucking around.
He starts out his run. Well, to be honest, like he starts out the run and he's like Pitbull 1 and Pitbull 2. It's like Doom. Okay, sweet. These guys really work. What's the end of his run? He's Kid Rock. What's the other part of his character? No, that's it. He's Kid Cash. He's Kid Rock. Just fucking get out there.
Yeah.
For the love of God, who will work for nothing?
He's a kid who likes money, like Tommy Dreamer. I don't fucking know.
But oddly, a lot of those guys, like obviously Raven leaves ECW because he's owed hundreds of thousands of dollars by Paul Heyman. He can take the hit at this point. It's just really more for him to rebrand and reinvigorate his character. He's in the Invasion in WWF. That doesn't go good. WWF hates this man. The WWE doesn't see anything in Raven, and they just fucking don't use him at all, really.
Yeah.
He looks like he's off. Like, he looked way more buff in WCW and just didn't. I mean, he's a full-blown fucking pillhead by this time, for sure.
It's also, Raven is smart enough to know where he's going to be used properly and knows that if he's booking his character, he's the best person at booking his character.
Yeah.
And
he jumped at WCW, when he jumped in 97 to WCW, he did maximize his own hand in what happens as well, because that is like 97 is still full, like really 97 is full fucking force an arms race for talent. And they're like, what do you need to come here? Rather than WWE is like, yeah, we got a job for you if you need it. And he said yes. So he's not coming in with the same amount of like stroke.
It's also Vince McMahon never, I think, isn't he one of the guys that Vince McMahon didn't know they rehired him and like wasn't happy about it? Like he was one of those things where it was like, there's some story that he tells where it's like, he walks up and he's like, oh, you're visiting backstage. And he's like, I've been working here for 3 months. And he was like, oh.
Yeah, this is the first era of truly crazy Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah. And it's so good. Yes, please.
It really is. He's like, have you joined the Suck My Dick Club? We haven't started that, have we? We're going to get our own show on Playboy TV, and the long, passionate Suck My Dick Club is going to be born. The Kiss My Ass Club was good, but we got some people who just fuck me. Yeah. I fuck you club. I think we're going to
followed quickly by the you just give me $80 in the name of your kids
club.
Peanut butter on my dick, then you suck it off pretending you're a real dog club.
You're like my real dog Fluffy. I killed Fluffy. Wait, what? I get truthful in the nighttime.
You pay me $50 and I suck you off club.
Here's the really sad part about Scott Levy is I assume he goes through all he went through in WCW.
All he went through. All that money. All those DDTs.
All that money, all those DDTs. And he ended up just being a sad, weird guy who I assume tells stories that go nowhere on indies. And he has a bunch of failed lawsuits to his name.
Yeah, he was in the... Well, we should mention this. The one thing that happened, and it wasn't in TNA, the one really, truly great thing he does after his WWE run is that he feuds with CM Punk and solidifies the I'm straight edge, I'm better than you, my life's amazing, you're a piece of shit on the indies, all over the indies and in Ring of Honor, and basically goes, you're a washed up pillhead piece of shit, Raven, fuck you. And it's that passing of the torch, which is like what I think the AEW run will end with CM Punk, where it's like you pass, it sounds weird, but it's like emo character goes from Raven to CM Punk, the emo gene lays dormant in CM Punk for 17 years, and then it's passed on to Darby Allin.
Exactly. We can all agree that Darby Allin will be the new CM Punk in that.
He'll be the new emo guy.
Yeah. He is eventually going to make me feel weird about wrestling because Darby Allin will also have been mean to one of my friends and I can't enjoy wrestling in the same way as everyone else can, which is, I'll tell you, I could have really used a release right now. And unfortunately, no, just Johnny doesn't get to feel good about AEW's current time because I'm a good friend. Let me tell you who's not a good friend. That's Dylan Gott, who said to me, and I'm quoting now, I feel good about this.
I feel good.
Granted, Dylan was holding a sandwich he had just made, and
CM Punk is coming to the ring, and who's his valet? It's John Hastings' ex-wife.
We just cut. So, CM Spunk and Raven feud all over, and it's really the first of, and they've done this feud now a million times, but it is the first, like, because that's why everyone loves. This is the weird thing about CM Punk and why I think he has a cap in AEW is because everyone loves the Jeff Hardy feud he did, which was just the feud he did with Raven, but then he just did it again in WWE. And then everyone loves the, obviously, the Pipe Bomb promo, which is just a version of a feud he did when he left Ring of Honor, but he did it in WWE. So it's kind of like, not that he's not great, but like Raven helped make this dude. And he did use the twilight years of his career very well. And it also speaks to how well-conditioned 40-year-olds are now, where you look at Christian Cage and he is like a hottie like a body.
Certainly is. He's the John Hastings of AEW.
And Raven donated his 40s to Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, but also Raven, I think, squeezed a lot of juice out of the orange as far as his talent goes because he's a great promo.
Oh my
God,
Lord,
not that good in the ring. Like he's just kind of.
And I remember him being good in the ring. Like you remember him being awesome, but you remember him being awesome because ECW matches were all 4 minutes of actual match and 18 minutes of entrances and people being hit with various implements.
All right, what are the best and worst things about Raven?
His ECW runs. Worst thing about it is he still is wrestling. Still exists.
I think one of the best things is this guy clearly took something that everyone loved and then took another thing. So basically, Raven is grunge Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's exactly it. He's grunge Jake the Snake Roberts.
Right
and I
down
can't
to like
wait.
him and you know what the funny thing is? Him and Diamond Dallas Page took the sitting in the corner
Yes, they
thing
did.
directly from Jake the Snake. Raven even pulls himself up with the ropes like Jake the Snake does. He took the DDT, but the great thing that Raven did was he switched the DDT. Jake just pulls it down and then the guy pancakes, whereas Raven kind of takes a bump as well.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called the even flow DDT. But he just
Exactly.
did the DDT different enough that it was his own.
I completely agree. He did it. He made the DDD much sexier.
Much sexier, and it's a perfect move for a character like that, where it's like, this guy's a piece of shit, but if he hits you with this, you're fucking dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. And he came along at a time where Jake the Snake was, due to his horrible addictions, not usable in a professional wrestling ring.
Exactly. Basically, what it is there's only ever been 4 types of wrestler: the Ric Flair, the Hulk Hogan, the Jake the Snake Roberts, and the Legion of Doom tag team. And basically, wrestling brokers just spend their entire lives waiting for one of those 4 people to come around.
Mm-hmm.
They use them until that they are empty like a toothpaste tube, and then they just fuck off again.
And then they fuck off with it. Here, I think the worst thing about Raven is that he got into stand-up. That's the worst thing.
I mean, I can't believe I have to say this. We have to cut this episode short so I can go to therapy and probably talk about
Raven.
Johnny Polo. Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm Johnny Polo or Raven.
Am I Scotty the Body, or am I Scotty Too Hottie?
Oh, we didn't mention that. Johnny loves Dingo. Johnny Scott Levy starts as Scotty the Body, and he's in a stable with Cactus Jack, and then also his first stable in WCW was the Diamond Mine. It was him, Diamond Dallas Page, and Kevin Nash. So, and at one point, you wouldn't say, but like at one point, they all hold titles at the same time in 3 separate companies. DDP holds the TV title. Raven has the heavyweight title, and of course, Nash has the heavyweight title in WWF.
Yeah,
Pretty fucking
holy
crazy.
fuck. That is fucking crazy.
The Diamond Mine. One of the unsung. It's weird looking back on wrestling in the 90s, and you're like, holy fuck, like Rick Steiner teamed with Booker T? He didn't, but he could have.
Certainly could have.
That was a bad example.
And what I liked about that is you said it with a cadence where I believed that it happened. Do you know what else
I
happened?
could have just
This-
lied.
Yeah, this episode is now going to end because I have to go to therapy, and I can't be late for therapy because I'm talking about Raven, or they'll put me in an asylum.
I got one really long eyebrow hair. I'm going to pluck it. Goodbye.
Goodbye.